Krishna Book, Chapter 12. The Killing of the Agasura Demon. Once the Lord desired to go early in the morning with all his cowherd boyfriends to the forest, where they were to assemble together and take lunch. As soon as he got up from the bed, he blew his buffalo horn bugle and called all his friends together. Keeping the calves before them, they started for the forest in a great procession. In this way, Lord Krishna assembled thousands of his boyfriends. They were each equipped with a stick, flute, and horn, as well as a lunch bag, and each of them was taking care of thousands of cows. All the boys appeared very jolly and happy in that excursion. Each and every one of them, including Krishna, was attentive to his personal cows as he herded them in different places in the forest. The boys were fully decorated with various kinds of golden ornaments, yet out of sporting propensities they began to pick up flowers, leaves, twigs, peacock feathers, and red clay from different places in the forest, and further decorate themselves in different ways. While passing through the forest, one boy stole another boy's lunch package and passed it to a third. And when the boy whose lunch package was stolen came to know of it, he tried to take it back. But the boy who had thrown it to another boy, the sporting playing went on amongst the boys as childhood pastimes. When Lord Krishna went ahead to a distant place in order to see some specific scenery, the boys behind him ran to try to catch up and be the first to touch him. So there was a great competition. One would say, "I will go there and touch Krishna." Another would say, "Oh, you cannot go. I'll touch Krishna first." Some of them played on their flutes or vibrated bugles made of buffalo horn. Some of them gladly followed the peacocks and imitated the sounds of the cuckoo. While the birds were flying in the sky, the boys ran after the birds' shadows along the ground and tried to follow their exact courses. Some of them went to the monkeys and silently sat down by them, and some of them imitated the dancing of the peacocks. Some of them caught monkeys by the tail and played with them, and when the monkeys jumped into a tree, the boys followed. When a monkey showed his face and teeth, a boy imitated and showed his teeth to the monkey. Some of the boys played with the frogs on the bank of the Yamuna, and when out of fear the frogs jumped into the water, the boys immediately dove in after them. And when the boys came out of the water and saw their own shadows, they would stand imitating, making caricature and laughing. They would also go to an empty well and make loud sounds, and when the echo came back, they would call it ill names and laugh. As stated personally by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Bhagavad Gita, he is realized proportionately by transcendentalists as Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here, in the confirmation of the same statement, Lord Krishna, who awards the impersonalists the pleasure of Brahman realization by his bodily effulgence, also gives pleasure to the devotees as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who, under the spell of the external energy, Maya, take him only as a beautiful child. Yet he gave full transcendental pleasure to the cowherd boys who played with him. Only after accumulating heaps of pious activities were those boys promoted to personally associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who can estimate the transcendental fortune of the residents of Vrindavan? They were personally seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face, whom many yogis cannot find even after undergoing severe austerities, although he is sitting within their hearts. This is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. One may search for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through the pages of the Vedas and Upanishads, but it is difficult to find him there. However, one who is fortunate enough to associate with the devotee can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. After accumulating pious activities in many, many previous lives, the cowherd boys were seeing Krishna face to face and playing with him as friends. They could not understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they were playing as intimate friends with intense love for him. When Lord Krishna was enjoying his childhood pastimes with his boyfriends, one Aghasura demon became very impatient. He was unable to tolerate seeing Krishna play so happily, and therefore he appeared before the boys, intending to kill them all. This Aghasura was so dangerous that even the denizens of heaven were afraid of him. Although the denizens of heaven drank nectar daily to prolong their lives, they were afraid of this Aghasura and were wondering, when will the demon be killed? The denizens used to drink nectar to become immortal, but actually they were not confident of their immortality. On the other hand, the boys who were playing with Krishna had no fear of the demons. They were free of any fear. Any material arrangement for protecting oneself from death is always unsure, but if one is in Krishna consciousness, then immortality is confidently assured. The demon Agusura appeared before Krishna and his friends. Agusura happened to be the younger brother of Putana and Bakasura, and he thought, Krishna has killed my brother and sister. Now I shall kill him along with all his friends and cows. Agusura was instigated by Kamsa, so he had come with determination. Aghasura also thought that when he would offer grains and water in memory of his brother and sister and kill Krishna and all the cowherd boys, then automatically all the inhabitants of Vrindavan would die. Generally, for the householders, the children are the life and breath force. When all the children die, then naturally the parents also die on account of strong affection for them. Aghasura thus decided to kill all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, expanded himself by the yogic siddhi called Mahima. The demons are generally expert in achieving almost all kinds of mystic powers. In the yoga system, by the perfection called Mahima Siddhi, one can expand himself as he desires. The demon Aghasura expanded himself up to 8 miles and assumed the shape of a very fat serpent. Having attained this wonderful body, he stretched his mouth open just like a mountain cave. Desiring to swallow all the boys at once, including Krishna and Balaram, he sat on the path. The demon in the shape of a big fat serpent expanded his lips from land to sky. His lower lips was touching the ground and his upper lip was touching the clouds. His jaws appeared like a big mountain cave. Without limitation, and his teeth appeared just like mountain summits. His tongue appeared to be a broad traffic way, and he was breathing just like a hurricane. His eyes were blazing like fire. At first, the boys thought that the demon was a statue. But after examining it, they saw that it was a big serpent lying down on the road and widening his mouth. The boys began to talk among themselves. Dear friends, this figure appears to be a great animal, but he is sitting in such a posture just to swallow us all. Excuse me. Just see, it is not a big snake that has widened his mouth to eat at all of us. One of them said, Yes, what you say is true. This animal's upper lip appears to be just like the sunshine, and its lower lip is just like the reflection of red sunshine on the ground. Dear friends, just look to the right and left hand side of the mouth of the animal. Its mouth appears to be like a big mountain cave, and its height cannot be estimated. The chin is also raised just like a mountain summit. That long highway appears to be its tongue, and inside the mouth is as dark as in a mountain cave. The hot wind that is blowing like a hurricane is his breathing. And the fishy bad smell coming from his mouth is the smell of his intestines. Then they further consulted amongst themselves. If we all at one time entered into the mouth of this great serpent, how could it possibly swallow all of us? And even if it were to swallow all of us at once, it could not swallow Krishna. Krishna will immediately kill him, as he did Bakasura. Talking in this way, all the boys looked at the beautiful lotus-like face of Krishna, and they began to clap and smile. So they marched forward and entered the mouth of the gigantic serpent. Meanwhile, Krishna, who is the super soul within everyone's heart, could understand that the big statue figure was a demon. The boys did not know this, however, and thus while Krishna was planning how to stop the destruction of his intimate friends, all the boys, along with their calves, entered the mouth of the serpent. But Krishna did not enter. The demon was awaiting Krishna's entrance, and he was thinking, everyone has entered except Krishna, who has killed my brother and sister. Sorry, just need to get some water. Thank you. Krishna is the assurance of safety to everyone. When he saw that his friends were already out of his hands and were lying within the belly of the great serpent, he became momentarily grieved. He was also struck with wonder at how the external energy works so wonderfully. He began to consider how he would kill the demon and at the same time save the boys and calves. Although there was no factual concern on Krishna's part, he was thinking that, finally, after some deliberation, he also entered the mouth of the demon. When Krishna entered, all the demigods who had gathered to see the fun and who were hiding within the clouds expressed their feelings with words. Alas, alas, at the same time, all the friends of Agusura, especially Kamsa, who were all accustomed to eating flesh and blood, expressed their jubilation, understanding that Krishna had also entered the mouth of the demon. While the demon was trying to smash Krishna and his companions, Krishna heard the demigods crying, Alas, alas, and he immediately began to expand himself within the throat of the demon. Although he had a gigantic body, the demon choked by the expanding of Krishna. His big eyes moved violently and he quickly suffocated. His life air could not come out from any source, and ultimately it burst out of a hole in the upper part of his skull. Thus his life air passed off. After the demon was dead, Krishna, with his transcendental glance alone, brought all the boys and calves back to consciousness and came with them out of the mouth of the demon. While Krishna was within the mouth of Agusura, the demon's spirit soul came out like a dazzling light, illuminating all directions, and waited in the sky. As soon as Krishna came out of the mouth of the demon with his calves and friends, that glittering, effulgent light immediately merged into the body of Krishna within the vision of all the demigods. The demigods became overwhelmed with joy and showered flowers on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and thus they worshipped him. The denizens of heavens danced in jubilation, and the denizens in Gandharvaloka offered various kinds of prayers. Drummers beat drums in jubilation, the Brahmanas recited Vedic hymns, and all the devotees of the Lord chanted the words, Jaya, Jaya, all glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Lord Brahma heard those auspicious vibrations, which sounded throughout the higher planetary system, he immediately came down to see what had happened. He saw that the demon was killed, and he was struck with wonder at the uncommon, glorious pastimes of the personality of Godhead. The gigantic mouth of the demon remained in an open position for many days, and gradually dried up. It remained a spot of pleasure, pastimes for all the cowherd boys. The killing of Agusura took place when Krishna and all his boyfriends were under 5 years old. Children under 5 years old are called Kumara. From 5 years up to 10th year, they are called Boganda. And from the 10th year up to the 15th year, they are called Kishora. After the 15th year, boys are called youths. For 1 year, there was no discussion of the incident of Agusura, of the Agusura demon in the village of Raj. But when the boys attained their 6th year, they informed their parents of the incident with great wonder. For Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is far greater than such demigods as Lord Brahma, it is not at all difficult to award one the opportunity of merging with his eternal body. This he awarded to Agusura. Aghasura was certainly the most sinful living entity, and it is not possible for the sinful to merge into the existence of the absolute truth. But in this particular case, because Krishna entered into Aghasura's body, the demon became fully cleansed of all sinful reactions. Persons constantly thinking of the eternal form of the Lord in the shape of the deity or in the shape of a mental form are awarded the transcendental benediction of entering into the kingdom of God and associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we can just imagine the elevated position of someone like Aghasura, into whose body the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, personally entered. Great sages, meditators, and devotees constantly keep the form of the Lord within their hearts, or they see the deity form of the Lord in the temples. In that way, they become liberated from all material contamination, and at the end of the body, enter into the kingdom of God. This perfection is possible simply by keeping the form of the Lord within the mind. But in the case of Aghasura, the Supreme Personality of Godhead personally entered. Aghasura's position was therefore greater than the ordinary devotees or the greatest yogis. Maharaj Pariksit, who was engaged in hearing the transcendental pastimes of the Lord Krishna, who saved the life of Maharaj Pariksit while he was in the womb of his mother, became more and more interested to hear about him. And thus he questioned the sage Sukadev Goswami, who was reciting Srimad Bhagavatam before the king. King Pariksit was a bit astonished to understand that the killing of the Aghasura demon was not discussed for 1 year, until after the boys attained the Poganda age. Maharaj Pariksit was very inquisitive to learn about this, for he was sure that such an incident was due to the working of Krishna's different energies. Generally, the Kshatriyas or the administrative class are always busy with their political affairs, and they have very little chance to hear about the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna. But while Pariksit Maharaj was hearing these transcendental pastimes, he considered himself to be very fortunate, because not only was he hearing Krishna's pastimes, but he was doing so from Sukadeva Goswami, the greatest authority on Srimad Bhagavatam. Thus, being requested by Maharaj Pariksit, Sukadeva Goswami continued to speak about the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna in the matter of his form, qualities, fame, and paraphernalia. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 12th chapter of Krishna, the killing of Aghasura demon.
Thank you very much. Om Jnana-timirantasya Gyananjana Sadakaya Chakshun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadhati Shapadantikam Pandehang Sri Guru Sri Jatapadakamanang Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Shagrasatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Pravijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishabhanu Sute Devi pranamami Hari Priye. Anshakul-patarubhyascha kripasindhobhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. One more time. Chapter opens with telling of transcendental boyhood pastimes of Krishna. Krishna gets up from bed and blows his bugle and calls all the friends together. And with the calves before them, they start in a great procession for the forest. They're all jolly and happy, and they're all taking care of their own personal sets of calves. Krishna is also doing that. They're all decorated with golden ornaments, but they have fun by picking up different things from the forest and further decorating themselves with, what does it say, with flowers and leaves and twigs and peacock feathers. And red clay from the forest. And they're playing various games. Someone's stealing the lunch bag of another boy and then passing it to a second and passing it to a third. And then when Krishna goes ahead to see some particular scene, then they're competing to touch. I'll touch Krishna first. No, I'll touch Krishna first. And some are following the peacocks, and some are imitating the sounds of the cuckoo. Some are running after the shadows of the birds on the ground and trying to follow exactly their courses. Some of them sit down silently next to the monkeys, and and some imitated the dancing of the peacocks. Some would catch monkeys by the tail and jump up into a tree when the monkeys jumped. When the monkey showed its teeth, and the boys would show their teeth. Some played with frogs on the bank of the Jumuna, and when the frog jumped in, the boy would jump in. And they would go to an empty well and call out ill names into the well, and when they would make loud sounds, and when the sound came back, they would call the sound by ill names. Hearing the echoes. And there's a verse often quoted by Srila Prabhupada. Krishna's realized by the impersonalists as the impersonal Brahma, by the Paramatma as the Paramatma by the yogis. And as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the devotees. And those who are under the spell of Maya just see him as a beautiful child. But that same Krishna is playing as a personal friend with the cowherd boys who've attained that position after accumulating heaps of pious activities. Krita punya punja. So no one could understand Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they were playing with him with intense love. This is the position of the cowherd boys. So while all of this was going on, there was a demon named Aghasura who was unhappy to see, he couldn't tolerate seeing Krishna playing so happily. This is envious. This is envy, that we're unhappy to see others happy. And that was Aghasura. Krishna. So he decided to kill all of them. And he was so dangerous even the denizens of heaven feared him. And Prabhupada comments that the demigods drank nectar daily to prolong their lives, but they were wondering, when will this demon be killed? Because they too were afraid of him. They were drinking the nectar of immortality, but they weren't confident about their immortality. But the boys playing with Krishna, they had no fear. There's a significant line, Prabhupada says, any material arrangement for protecting oneself from death is always unsure. But if one is in Krishna consciousness, then immortality is confidently assured. The materialists are busy making arrangements to try to protect themselves from death. But their arrangements are unsure, or we know that their arrangements will fail. But the person engaged in Krishna consciousness is confident of immortality, or his immortality is confidently assured. No, asamshaya, there's no doubt. The demon Aghasura was the younger brother of Putana and Bakasura, and he thought, Krishna's killed my brother and sister, now I'll kill him and all the cowherd boys, and that'll kill all the residents of Vrindavan also. because the children are the life and soul of the people. And when the children die, then the parents will die also. So in that way, I'll kill all of them. So this demon had mystic powers, one of which was Mahima, the power to become greater than the greatest. There's Anima, to become smaller than the smallest, Mahima, to become bigger than the biggest. So by Mahima Siddhi, he became a huge serpent. And the description is given as upper jaws touching the heaven, the lower jaws touching the earth. So he appears like a mountain, and he's lying on the path to swallow Krishna and all the boys. And the boys come playing along, and they see this, what looks like a big cave. And they say, some say maybe it looks like a big cave, and some, no, it's a demon. And they have some back and forth about that. Looks like he's a demon. He means to eat all of us. But he couldn't eat all of us at once. And even if he could swallow all of us, he couldn't swallow Krishna. So then they say, yeah, and they all run into the demon's mouth. And Krishna sees this and says, now what? All his friends have run into the mouth of the demon. And now what to do? So Krishna is playing like an ordinary human being. What to do? For Krishna, this is not a problem, but still he's thinking, what should I do? And the demon's thinking, good. All the boys have entered, now it's just Krishna's the last one. And then Krishna enters the mouth of the demon also. And the demigods are who come to see the fun, Prabhupada says. Now they're worried, alas, Krishna's entered the mouth of the demon. And Krishna, from within the mouth of the demon, hears that, and he expands himself, and he gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and essentially chokes the demon to death. And then all the boys come dancing out of the mouth of the demon, with Krishna, with his transcendental glance, brought them all back to consciousness. And the demon's life air bursts out of the demon's top of the demon's skull, isn't it? Yeah. As the yogis, this is what the yogis aspire to do, to exit the body through the Brahmarandra, the hole at the top of the skull. So this is what happened with the Aghasura. He choked to death, and his life air burst from his skull. And then that soul was like out there like a bright light. And when Krishna came out of the mouth of the demon, that light merged into the body of Krishna, which means liberation. The yogis are trying for liberation, the Gyanis are trying for liberation. But the demon was very fortunate. Krishna had entered his body. The yogis are meditating on Krishna, the devotees are seeing Krishna in the temple. But the Gyanis may be trying to picture the absolute truth within their minds. But Krishna had entered the very body of the demon. So the body merged into the transcendental body of the Lord, and became freed from sinful reactions. Agha means sins, and Aghasura, sinful demon, but he was freed from all sins by the mercy of Krishna. Then it's mentioned that for 1 year there was no discussion in Braja about this incident. Krishna killed the demon, and then for a whole year, as they say, radio silence. There was nothing about it. And then the next year, 1 year later, the boys told their mother, "Oh, this is what happened." So the Parikshit Maharaj was hearing with great interest, and he found this astonishing. And so he asks about it from Sukadeva Goswami, and we'll hear about that in the next chapter. Okay, are there some comments or questions? Lots of comments and questions today, yes.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, here it's written that Krishna became momentarily grieved and he was also struck with wonder at how the external energy works so wonderfully. This is after the cowherds enter the mouth of Balaji. So Maharaj, what is this wonder?
Even Krishna, it's described that, I believe it's in the description of the rainy season. Krishna and the boys would be sitting in caves, sitting in a cave and seeing, the rainy season. The rainy season is, of course, a big deal, all the clouds and huge rain and quite something, not just your little drizzle. So the Krishna would be seeing this, and he'd be, amazed at seeing how wonderfully the external energy acts. It's his own energy. But Swabhavaki Jnana Bala Kriyacha, Krishna's energies work automatically. He doesn't have to give micro orders, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. They know what to do. Automatically his energies act. And it was wonderful. Just see how the external energy is acting. So here also, it's amazing that these boys have entered the mouth of the Aghasura. My Maya is so powerful. So even Krishna is amazed. In another context, we hear from Chaitanya Charitamrita that Krishna is captivated by the dealings of Srimati Radharani. What is it that she's tasting by devotional service to me? What is it about me that's so attractive to her? Even Krishna is amazed. Although Srimati Radharani is his own internal energy, he was amazed. How is it that she has so much love for me? What is it about me that attracts her so much? What does she taste by devotion to me? And because it's so amazing, and because he can't taste it, he can't understand it, because he's Krishna. From that position, he can't relish what it's like to be a devotee of Krishna, because he's Krishna. So he takes the position of a devotee in order to relish that. So it's the same thing. He's amazed. How is the energy acting in this way? So in that case, it's the internal energy, but here it's the external energy. My external energy even is so amazing. So even Krishna was amazed.
And Maharaj, in this case, he is aggrieved.
Excuse me?
He's aggrieved.
I'm sorry, you because you have a microphone, you think you can speak low like this. You have to use the microphone and speak loud.
Okay. In this case, Krishna is feeling aggrieved, Maharaj.
He's doing what?
Aggrieved.
He's feeling aggrieved, yes. That Krishna enters into the pastimes. We find this, that Krishna doesn't take the role of the omniscient personality of Godhead. I know how this story is going to end. I'm on top of the whole thing. Then there's no sport, no taste. Krishna puts himself in the position of not knowing and being aggrieved. Prabhupada didn't give this example, but when we go see a drama, there's something called suspension of disbelief. Are you familiar with that term, suspension of disbelief? Yes. We know it's a movie. We know the characters are all fictional. We know that that these things are all essentially, what's the word? The whole script is just a concoction. We know that this is not really Hamlet or whoever the character might be, that he's really an actor. This isn't really his mother, this is an actress. This isn't really his father, it's really another actor. We know all that. But from that position, we can't enjoy the play. If we're thinking this isn't really happening, nobody's really going to be killed here, there's nothing to be upset about, no anxiety here, no difficulty. If we think like that, then we wasted our money going to the movie, because we're not going to enjoy any of it. So there has to be something called suspension of disbelief, where you put all your knowledge aside and you enter into it. What's going to happen to him now? Now what? What's he going to do now? And oh my God, and all of that, because you've entered into the mood of the drama. And even it's said, at least in some schools of acting, that that's what the actor should do. He shouldn't think that I'm such and such actor. He should think that I'm Hamlet, or I'm Joan of Arc, or whoever is being played. So he becomes one with the character and experiences what the character experiences, and then that feeling communicates itself to the audience, and so on. So this is all how things go with dramas and fiction. But a similar thing goes on with Krishna. He knows everything. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But that's put aside. And he genuinely enters into Mother Jashoda's going to punish me. It's not just a show. He's actually feeling, she's going to punish me.
And Maharaj, Krishna starts milking a bull also, like in one of the...
I can't hear you because you're speaking like this. When you speak like that, you can't be heard. So speak up.
Yes, Maharaj. So Maharaj, in one of the pastimes, Krishna starts milking a bull.
Yeah.
So he's
Good.
into it. Basically.
Krishna
Yeah.
becomes so bewildered by thinking of Srimati Radharani that he starts trying to milk a bull. That means transcendental madness. So this is the spiritual world. Krishna's Yogamaya arranges these things so that these pastimes can take place and Krishna can enjoy, and the devotees can enjoy. We hear that big companies like Google now are, the next thing is what they call immersive technology, where it's not just seeing a movie but what is it, in virtual reality, you're experiencing augmented reality, yeah. But here we have reality with everyone absorbed completely in the experience of these transcendental activities. We just want to enjoy some fun by paying some money and being immersed in an experience for an hour and then going back to work. But in the spiritual world, they're eternally absorbed in these wonderful activities of Krishna. And they're immersed. They're immersed. Because of love for Krishna. And then there's those like Aghasura who can only be envious, are only sorry that Krishna is enjoying and the boys are enjoying.
Maharaj. I'm just curious to know if Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, do they exist only on planet Earth for residents of planet
No, Prabhupada said that in the higher planets that we have 10 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam with what? 36,000 verses or something. Prabhupada said 60 volumes. People are amazed that we're proposing 60 volumes. But in the heavenly planets, they go through thousands of volumes. Srimad Bhagavatam means the narration of Krishna's transcendental activities. In the heavenly planets, there's more. They have more time, that's one thing. Raj Parikshit had 7 days. You can read the calculation of time for the demigods. They have a long time. Yes, was there a question here? Something? Yes.
We're familiar with the painting of the demigods showering flowers down on Krishna. So we can kind of have it in our minds. But here it seems that the demons are also witnessing the pastime. As soon as the cowherd boys enter, the demigods express dismay, but the demons express jubilation.
Let's
So
look at that.
how is that?
Let's see. Interesting. Somehow they understood that Krishna had entered the mouth of the demon. I don't know how they understood that. I could only speculate. There are mystic powers, of course, by which people can understand things at a distance. And it's said that even ordinary people sometimes have an experience of that. Remote perception, it's called. So somehow they remotely perceived that Sanjay had that, he could see the events at Kurukshetra. Somehow the demons had that capability. They knew. Now Krishna's entered. There's no further details here. I don't know if the Acharya's comment on that. Let's see. Well, it's hard to see. Hard to go back and forth with it in this format. Maybe you have. Yeah, you can look in the purport and see. Okay. Unless further information heads our way, that's it for that question. Anything else? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So there are several cantos to the Srimad Bhagavatam, and 10th canto is a special summary of Krishna book. And I was wondering what was some of the things Srila Prabhupada wanted to achieve by summarizing the 10th canto, because there's several, and he chose the 10th one. I know
Because there's
several cantos, and he specifically chose the 10th one. So I
well,
was
the 10th
wondering-
canto is the essence of the work.
Okay.
The 10th cantos, in one sense, the first 9 cantos are prepping us for the 10th canto, preparing us for the 10th canto. So Prabhupada wanted to give us that essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, the transcendental activities of Krishna. He didn't know whether, he's working on the 3rd canto and doesn't know if he'll get to the 10th canto. If he doesn't get to it, then we won't have it. So that's one reason we could say that he, not knowing whether he would get that far, he wanted to give us the 10th canto in summary. He also conceived, as he says in the introduction, that this narration will be beneficial for all classes of hearers. So for the benefit of people in general, he's giving this Krishna book. It's not just for the devotees, but it's for the people don't know who God is. They have only the vaguest conception. He's great, he's the Alpha and Omega, he's all-knowing, he's all-powerful. But they have not a hint, practically, of these transcendental details that of Krishna's personality, his form, his qualities, his pastimes, his abode, his entourage. This is all unknown. So Srila Prabhupada wants to make this known. I could think of other reasons, but that'll get you started.
I was thinking maybe it's also an introduction for someone who does not know the Bhagavatam, that maybe it's a good place in terms of books distribution. I was thinking in my own mind that in terms of positioning Krishna book to audiences that don't know about Krishna, it gives them a flavor of what the Bhagavatam is all about. So perhaps it's like an introduction to...
You can say that. It's a summary. So when you get the summary, then you may feel like, wow, I want the whole thing. That can also be there. I don't know that Srila Prabhupada had that in mind as an explicit strategy, but certainly that's there, that after I've, just like I remember in middle school, what's now called middle school, I did a Latin overview course, and a wonderful course, actually. The teacher was an elderly lady who was just totally in love with Latin and made Latin like the most interesting subject in the 3 worlds. And so there was the Latin overview course. And of course, and naturally, if you liked the overview course, then you would sign up for first year Latin, which of course I did. And that was the year she retired. So she was gone when I signed up for the course, after I signed up for the course. But in any case, yes, you do the overview and then you say, ooh. So someone can read the Krishna book and say, well, what is the Srimad Bhagavatam? Let me go into detail.
Thank you, Raj.
Something else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Is it correct to say that our fearlessness is proportionate to our faith in Krishna? Because the cowherd boys, they were completely fearless and they knew that nothing bad would happen to them. Krishna would rescue them. So, yeah.
Yeah, if one, to the extent that one has confidence in Krishna, one will be free from fear. Etan nirvidyamananam ichchatam akutobayam. What is that? Yoginam nripanirnitam harirnam anukirtan. The Shukadev Goswami is advising Parikshit Maharaj that it's been ascertained by the authorities that it's chatam kutobhayam. If you want to be fearless at the time of death, the Prabhupada said, who's not afraid of death? But if we want to be fearless at the time of death, and this is the advice, Harinam Anukirtanam, I go on hearing, chanting the glories of the Lord. Parikshit Maharaj was facing death. And he'd asked the duty of a person on the verge of death. So Shukadev Goswami is recommending Harinam Anukirtanam. By this Harinam Anukirtanam, you'll be free of all fear. Yes.
Marge, in the text it says that, I lost it now. Oh, can't find it, but, oh yeah. However, one who is fortunate enough to associate with a devotee can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. It feels like it's omitting the time delay.
It's not omitting the time delay, but it's understood that it may take some time. If one is fortunate enough, not that I associate with the devotee and then boom, immediately there's Krishna face to face, but by the grace of the devotee, one gets the mercy of Krishna, one gets the process of Krishna consciousness. It's like Dhruva Maharaj, he associated with Narad Muni. Narad Muni gave him some instructions. The boy followed the instructions and he saw the Lord face to face. Or the person at the nursery gives you a seed and says, okay, you plant these and you'll get petunias or whatever you're going to get. So you do that, you plant your seed, you water it, follow the instructions, and then you get the flowers. So if we follow the process, and that means to come under the shelter of a devotee, get the mercy of a pure devotee of Krishna, and then follow the instructions received. If we do that, then in the mature stage, you'll see Krishna face to face. Anything else? Slow news day, they say. We had a lot of questions and answers today. Okay, so we don't have to prolong, we can have kirtan. And we have to leave timely again today. But since we're ending early, that's not a problem. And thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. And who's our kirtaniya today? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prasaya, Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gora Haribol, 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 Nitai Gora Haribol.
Jai Om Vishnuvad Panumansa Padiprad Jakacharya Sto Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kundagiri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Gangamai Ki Jai Jamunamai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande.